Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Superintendent Town Hall in relation to the 1% county facility sales tax that is on the ballot on April 4th. We've got 9 Clinton County superintendents here with us tonight. We do have some questions that were submitted ahead of time that we'll start with. If you have questions as we go, please feel free to drop them in the chat.
All right, so we're going to go around the room and let everybody introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Phil Hamill, Superintendent at Aviston, District 21.
Good evening, I'm Eric Bayer, Superintendent at St. Rose School District 1415.
Good evening, my name is Tom Sigler, I'm Superintendent at Bartelzo, School District number 57.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Filia, Superintendent of Westland Unit School District number 3.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ryan Ketchum. I'm the Superintendent at Breeze Elementary School District number 12.
Hello, my name is Robin Becker. I'm the Superintendent at Germantown Elementary School District number 60.
And I'm Mike Taylor, Superintendent at Albers Elementary School District number 63.
Good evening, I'm Annie Gray, the Superintendent at Carlisle Community Unit School District 1.
Hi everybody, my name is Dustin Fouch. I'm the Superintendent at Central Community High School District 71.
All right, so we will go ahead and jump into the questions that were submitted via private messaging. So the first one, what are the top 3 items you feel your school district should address first? And can you outline costs associated with them? We'll go ahead and go around the room.
Sure, I can start with Aviston's proposals. Aviston, under the 2021 estimates, would be able to receive approximately $310,000 worth of funds from this 1% sales tax. With that, we already have ideas for projects such as new HVAC units. We did price those 2 years ago, and just the 3 main units would be priced at about $600,000 to replace. Some other ideas that we have would be upgraded playground areas with safer equipment and safer surfacing for our students, as well as upgrading and updating our current classrooms. Our building did just turn about 21 years old here recently. We have a fairly new building. However, like anything, it can always use freshening of classrooms, paint, and just general updates. And finally, we did extend our current bond debt limit. We're planning an addition, and this addition can also be, or the debt limit can be paid down with some of this additional funding, which would also provide relief to our property tax owners.
All right, our Eric Bayer St. Rose School, we are projected, if this should pass, to receive from the fiscal year 2021, $133,000 a year. Our top 3 projects, we have many projects, but our top 3 would be a roof replacement. We have a current bid for that at $265,000. A security camera upgrade at $21,000, and HVAC for units that are 20 plus years old at $165,000. Among other projects like our pre-K playground and some other projects as well, but those are our top 3.
Okay. At Bartelzo, the main part of our building's over 70 years old, so we have quite a few things we'd like to fix. We're currently in phase 2 of roof projects, replacing some roofing areas. We also intend to replace HVAC units. We'd like to abate asbestos, as well as update our plumbing and our electrical boxes. Several years ago, we decided to start working on this right away and issued some bonds in 2021. Those bonds, we make payments each year to the bank to the tune of about $165,000. Should this initiative pass, we are forecast to bring in about $150,000. So that amount of money would nearly take care of our entire payment to the bank. So our intention is to use all the money for those projects in effect by paying off our debt.
At Westland Unit School District, if it should pass, we have a number of projects. Obviously, the Board of Education will make the ultimate decision of how the funds will be used, but projects that we are considering is to use some of the funds to pay off our existing debt that we have when we constructed the high school, as well as new playgrounds with also the safer service and safer equipment at both Trenton Elementary and New Baden Elementary. We need classroom space at New Baden Elementary. We'd like a secure entrance at Trenton Elementary and outdoor restroom space at our high school. We did cost some of those out. It depends how many classrooms, but all of them are quite a few $100,000. So we'll have to determine how we would like to prioritize those projects moving forward.
At Breeze Elementary School District 12, our focus areas are as follows if this 1% tax would pass. We'll be focused on facilities kind of in two parts. There's a new housing complex being built out on Holy Cross Lane, and so that is going to create, it's estimated over the next couple of years, 1 to 2 years, an additional potentially 100 plus students. Currently at District 12, we are out of classroom space, so our focus is going to be on adding classroom space. And also on the other side of when I said two parts of the facilities piece, we've got some updates to our pre-existing structures, such as HVAC systems, roofing. We're going to be adding air conditioning to 2 of the gyms that we don't have in there currently. Also some parking lot and playground upkeep to the campuses. As far as the other piece to what we would use the 1% for would be safety and security and mental health, looking at employing a new full-time social worker. Also, I've been working with the city of Breeze, specifically the chief of police, in looking into, if this would pass, purchasing with these funds a new full-time school resource officer that will be shared between Breeze District 12, Breeze Elementary specifically, ASA, and Mater Dei. So we'd be excited to be able to use our funds if this would pass at District 12 in a variety of ways.
At Germantown Elementary School District number 60, our number one priority is to close the funding gap for the gymnasium construction project. That gap currently stands at $600,000. Our second priority would be to complete any other building and grounds projects that arise, followed by paying off bonds, which will lower the district's tax rate for our taxpayers.
At Albers School District, one portion of the building is from 1954, and the second portion is from 1968, and there hasn't been much upkeep since then to a lot of our buildings. So we have a lot of bathroom remodels, asbestos abatements, kitchen upgrades, and we look at the possibility of needing over $1 million for some of those things, among also with a bunch of smaller projects that we would have to be completing as well.
And at Carlisle School District, if passed, some of the funds may be allocated to improvements within our facilities. Just like many other districts, our buildings are aging. So just basic classroom renovation, the addition of a third science lab, air conditioning within our gymnasiums. Those are just some of the examples. Our outdoor sports facilities, updating those, kind of several different projects that fall under that realm. And then also underneath the school safety and mental health aspect, the ability to employ a full-time social worker at Carlisle High School, along with the potential of some building improvements to improve the safety of our facilities and the potential of adding an SRO. And then the third item would be that we would be able to use a portion of the revenue to help make our bond payment. So we sold bonds for our new addition at Carlisle High School, and we could use a portion of the revenue collected to help make that bond payment, which then would reduce that burden on our taxpayers.
All right, Dustin Fouch, Central High School. Our primary goal with the entire 1 cent sales tax initiative is to be able to lower our property taxes for the folks that pay property taxes to our district as much as we can. Our board passed a resolution in our meeting last Monday that's been filed with the county clerk that states specifically the amount of money that we will be lowering property taxes if the initiative should pass.
All right, the next question that was submitted is, I've seen that this sales tax would affect the state aid that our schools receive. Is that true or false? And how is state aid actually determined?
Put that simply, that is not true, that is false. The general state aid formula changed several years ago. Now it's called evidence-based funding, or EBF in short. And that takes into account local property values and property taxes. Sales tax does not figure into that equation at all.
Okay. Have any of you talked with small businesses to understand their concerns around this sales tax?
I have. I presented to the chamber, talked at a chamber meeting. stayed after the chamber meeting for a couple hours and chatted with folks. And I think small business, their primary concern is that right now, Clinton County has the lowest sales tax rate in the geographic area. And I think what the small business, their main concern is that that's going to hurt some of their competitive advantage. But I will tell you, just this discussion that we've had, I think people are more aware of what they're paying in sales tax today than what they've ever been. I know that I've talked to several folks that had no idea that when they were going to Menards or Target that they were paying 9.35% in sales tax. And so I think that hopefully this discussion has brought awareness to folks about how good of a deal they are getting in Clinton County in regards to the sales tax they're paying. For example, I had a guy tell me the other day that he went to Menards and bought a new grill. And before this discussion didn't even think twice about, paying the whatever 9.35% for that particular grill. But if he knew that some of the money was going to be able to go to a school, that it would have impacted his decision, and he would have chose to shop local because he knew that some of that purchase price or some of that sales tax was going to go to support local schools. So I think that's their main concern, is that it's going to hurt them competitive advantage wise. But I would say pass or fail. I think the discussion at least has hopefully helped small businesses because it's brought awareness to the fact of how much better our sales tax rates are here in Clinton County than especially in the Metro East.
Next question. Are the schools able to accrue this money from year to year? And if they do accrue it, what kind of account is set in place for this?
Yes, schools are able to accrue the funds from year to year. School districts' budgets are set up in different funds. Both the revenue and the expenditures from this sales tax would go into Fund 60, which is known as the Capital Projects Fund. And so the money would go into a Capital Projects Fund, and if you would expend it, would be spent out of the Capital Projects Fund. And if it is not spent, then it will remain in that fund until such time that it is spent.
What is Stifel's involvement in this sales tax? Will they get any kickback from this? And are schools required to use them because they provided information?
I can answer this question, and you guys can jump in there too if you would like to do so. We called upon Stifel at the very beginning to kind of see, first off, what the 1% sales tax was all about. We met with them one time at the very beginning. Then we kind of organized ourselves and moved out from there. As far as Stifel being compensated for their service, they are not being compensated at all. At this point, I guess the only compensation that they may have is if the school board would decide to purchase bonds from them. They're a bonding company, so that would be the direct benefit that they would have. At this time, they are not being paid from any of the schools or the Friends of Clinton County Schools.
And like Central, we have no relationship with Stifel whatsoever. The bonding agent that we use is Bernardi Securities. It's actually a competitor of Stifel's, so they won't see a red cent from Central Community High School because of anything that deals with this initiative whatsoever.
Each school district has the right to choose who their bonding authority is and who they use for bonds. So each school district and the school board would make that decision.
Why did you choose the 1% instead of 0.25% or any of the lower percentages?
For me, I was interested in the 1 cent probably because it's going to enable us to relieve a bigger burden on property tax owners. The revenue that comes in from that. Obviously, whenever we first started the conversation, there's folks that I'm from Centralia. The entire shopping center in Centralia, the Walmart, the Buckeyes, is all in Clinton County. And the same thing with the 2.5 million people that go visit the Walmart. I thought that additional revenue could come in and that would help us further reduce our property tax burden from the people who live in our district.
I want to echo what Dustin's mentioning too. In District 12, that's focusing on facilities. And you heard me mention earlier about classroom space, the need for additional classroom space. Focusing on the 1% versus anything less will allow us to do the type of work we need to do in District 12 and ensure I don't have to go back to the taxpayers at a later time and ask for money through a building bond referendum. Because the 1%, if utilized through, again, versus a 1/4% or a 0.5%, does give us enough money based on what District 12 would get. I mean, we'd be slated to get a little over $500,000 a year. That would allow us to make the necessary facilities improvements and add classroom space and not have to go back to the taxpayers.
I agree completely. With Albers, we're planning on lowering our property tax rate, but if it was only 1/4% or something, we would not be able to do that because we would not have enough authority and would not be generating enough income to be able to offset some of those bond costs.
And at Germantown, the reality is, we need the 1% in order to secure the funds to build that gymnasium that our community so desperately wants and needs.
All right. Speaking of the property taxes, the next question that was submitted was, will this 1% tax reduce our property taxes? Is there anything in writing from the county treasurer or tax assessor's office to confirm this?
Yeah, our board filed a resolution with the county clerk's office last week stating specifically what our intentions are to do with the money. Based upon the article in the paper today, it looked like it'll reduce your property taxes just from Central anywhere from $40 to about $80. So in real money, that you'd have to spend about $8,000 on taxable items, big screen TVs, out to eat, those kind of things for it to be a bad deal. Based upon that calculation that was in the paper. So yes, it is filed, and that is exactly what our district will do with these funds.
And at Albers 63, our Board of Education unanimously passed a resolution as well to lower our property tax rate by at least 10 cents. And that coupled with the central decrease, people in Albers will be able to see a significant savings of between $60 to $150, depending on the size of the home that person is living in. So that would be quite a big savings for our residents in Albers.
Next question, how exactly are funds distributed to each school? Why is Central's amount less than Carlisle or West Glen?
Funds are distributed to each school based on their enrollment counts. And West Glen's enrollment count is the highest in the county, as we are a unit district, as Carlisle is as well. Central is just a high school district, so they would receive the funds based on their enrollment count, they only have high schoolers. And then the feeder districts also will receive funds based on their enrollment counts. And in the year 2021, the enrollment counts, and when we quote those figures, is based on the enrollment counts in 2021. And each child in 2021 would have received about $875. So you would look at your school district's enrollment counts, times it by 875, and that's how much each school district would receive.
Does this tax include utilities? And what about online purchases from Amazon, Target, Walmart, all the above?
I have this one too. Electric does not have a retail tax. Electric is a utility tax and an excise tax, which is different than a retail sales tax. So electric is not impacted by the county sales tax. However, propane and motor fuel currently is charged a sales tax, so it will be subject to the county facilities tax. Also, beginning in 2021, all online purchases were subject to a sales tax. So if you buy something on Amazon, you will see a sales tax on your Amazon purchases. And so this county facilities tax would apply to those purchases also, not just Amazon. It would be Amazon, Target, wherever you purchase online.
Just a quick side note on that too. There were some questions about red diesel. That's not taxed. And it is a rule of thumb. All of us are learning more and more about this. As a rule of thumb, if it doesn't currently have that sales tax, it will not be taxed with this.
Yeah, and to add to that a little bit too, when I talk to some people, it's a retail sales tax. So it's that retail sales tax that's currently at 6.25%. So if it's already taxed with that, it would be subject to this.
So the red diesel fuel that's used for farm production does not get taxed, correct?
It's all farm inputs and services.
Why can't the schools operate within their means?
This is a loaded question. I would argue that our schools do operate within their means. Please be patient with me as I have quite a bit of data that will back this opinion. I say this for a multitude of reasons. I will use Germantown's financial data to explain why and then branch out from there. Where funding is concerned, a percent of adequacy rating is given to every school district in Illinois. And Germantown's percent of adequacy rating, as noted on the 2021-22 Illinois School Report Card, is 71%. What exactly does that mean? It means it depicts our school funding at 71% of what it should be from the state. That 29% shortfall equates to being underfunded by $800,000. As the challenges we face in education increase, school funding simply is not. Being inadequately funded by 29% makes for a very tight budget in today's world, as I'm sure you can imagine. Collectively, the Clinton County school districts that are represented at these tables, their average percent of adequacy is 67.7%, which means, on average, every one of our Clinton County schools is underfunded by about 32%. Then speaking of budgets, this fiscal year, using Germantown, and we're a small school district, mind you, our budgeted revenue in the building fund is just under $132,000. And our expenses are budgeted at just under $131,000. So expenses include things like maintenance salaries, cleaning, materials and supplies, electric, water, sewer, maintenance, repairs, among other things. And with a projected surplus of $1,700, that leaves next to nothing for Germantown as far as completing large-scale projects. And due to limited funding, currently the only way to fund large-scale projects is to borrow the money at the taxpayer's expense. And lastly, and I think this is the most profound piece of information that I have to share, using the most recent data posted to the Illinois State Board of Education website from FY21, the average operational expense per pupil, per district in the entire state of Illinois was $16,028.65. Out of 851 school districts statewide, 4 of our Clinton County school districts were the lowest. Aviston was the lowest in the entire state at $6,502.63, followed by Bartelzel at second lowest, $6,641.03. Germantown was the third lowest at $7,771.78, and Breeze District 12 was the fourth lowest at $7,803.35. Collectively, our Clinton County schools' operational expense per pupil averaged $9,069.16, which is 43% lower than the state average. This, in my opinion, paints a very clear picture that our Clinton County schools are doing a lot with a little and being fiscally responsible. And in addition to this, we are some of the highest performing school districts in the entire state of Illinois.
And to add to that, Robin, on that list of operational expenses, every school here was in the lowest 60 schools out of the 851. So everyone here does really budget fiscally responsibly and spends their money very fiscally responsibly.
What is the difference between the Ed Fund referendum in Aviston and the 1% county school facility sales tax?
Aviston is, Aviston is unique this election cycle because the residents actually have 2 referendum proposals on the ballot that they'll be viewing. The first, the Aviston education referendum, this one will be for Aviston District 21 residents only. And what the focus is of that is there's 3 main goals of this referendum. Number 1, to hire additional teachers. Number 2, reduce class sizes. And number 3, enhance and improve our curriculum. Aviston's experienced a significant amount of growth. Our enrollment has increased 14% in the last 4 years. And because of that, the board and I were seeing a need to plan ahead. And we've already started a building addition initiative. We have the financing secured by extending our current bond debt limit. And the next step is to make sure that we have teachers in those classrooms. So this is why Aviston's going out in order to get an ed fund referendum. Every single dollar from the increase in property taxes towards the ed fund will go directly into the classroom in the form of new teachers and support staff and new curriculum. And as far as Aviston's, how we benefit from the 1% or the separate side, that of course is a countywide proposition that everyone will see on the ballots. And Aviston plans to use that money, as I mentioned earlier, for facilities improvements and also to help pay down the bond debt that's been incurred as far as the new addition goes with our growth.
For the counties that have passed this sales tax, how has it affected their property taxes?
Okay, I've got this one, and I've had this question asked to me several times. So some real life examples for those school boards that choose to use these funds to pay down that bond debt. Some examples are Vandalia School District passed this in 2019. So this is something their board chose. So taxing year of 2017, their taxing rate was 5.13. And their most recent rate, tax year 2021, their tax rate was 4.317. So pretty significant drop there. And like I said, that was a Vandalia School District example. Some other examples nearby, Bond County. So the Bond County School District, their taxing rate in 2016 was 4.94. Most recent, it went down to 4.91. A little bit more significant of a drop was in Mulberry Grove School District. Taxing year 2016, their rate was 4.92, and their most recent rate, it had dropped down to 4.47. Other examples where I felt there was a significant decrease in that Monroe County, Columbia District 4, another unit district. The taxing rate in 2016, 4.57. Most recent is down to 3.87. So there are several more examples that we'd be happy to share, but I don't think I need to go through the entire list, but definitely some local examples that we'd like to share with you.
But some school districts didn't. I mean, there are some counties, if you go closer to Carbondale, where their rates actually went up. And it's that then their board decided not to use the funds to reduce their rate. That Board of Education decided to, I'm assuming, do projects or do different items or activities with that funds. So that's why it is a local board decision, and that the elected Board of Education needs to make those decisions of what they have decided and what is best for their school district. So just kind of be aware of it. Those are where they've gone down, but we're not saying all of them have always gone down.
A couple of years ago, we were all talking about local control and how much we wanted local control, and that's exactly what this is. It's local control. Each school district can decide what to do, and the nice part is the voters, if your school board does not hold true to what they say they're going to do, a couple of years you can vote them out. There's people in there that will. This would be your epitome of local control, which we were asking for a long time.
In what ways do school districts plan to use this funding to improve the mental health of students? And is this a priority for any of you?
So the first part of the question, yes, these funds can be used to pay for services for social workers, mental health care professionals. I think we all work in one form or another with Chris Fulkerson, the Coping for Kids, Coping for Life. They do a fantastic job. So yes, these funds could be used for that. The second part is this priority. I would say yes. I think all of us have seen a rise in mental health concerns over the last couple of years. Those concerns were around before the pandemic, but ever since the pandemic, they've only gotten worse. So I would say, for us, it is a priority. We've been having a social worker come in the last couple of years. The problem that we're having is just finding people to come in. There's not enough social workers out there to service all these kids. These funds can absolutely make a difference in providing services for the kids who are in need.
Mr. Sigler, I'll actually kind of piggyback on that, because at Breeze District 12, we've actually have already posted for position of school social worker for the 23-24 school year. If the mental health piece is that important to us, that we are going to move forward with that. Certainly the 1% funds If those would come in, that would greatly assist us with continuing to not only provide that in the upcoming year, but also sustain that in the future. But it is extremely important, and I know there's others in the group as well. And we talk about the mental health side. I like to also still piggyback on, based on District 12 only, what we would do as far as the school safety side. Again, I mentioned earlier about the school resource officer and bringing in a school resource officer, if this would pass, to be able to support the schools within the city limits of Breeze as well. So trying to combat both that mental health piece and also the school safety piece, which unfortunately, as we all turn on the news, we see those two go hand in hand far too often.
I don't think there's a single school up here that couldn't use a full-time social worker or two. I know we have a full-time social worker at Central. I feel completely blessed by that. Mark Kirkemeyer does an absolutely phenomenal job, and she is a massive asset. And all of these folks, if they could provide more resources to help kids with mental health, I guarantee you they would. School safety and security, with what's just in the news today, with the school shootings. I think that's probably an area, you know what I mean, that most school districts wish that they had some more funding to be able to deal with too. One of the school shootings last week, the school had just cut their school resource officer 6 months before, but, because of funding, and they ended up losing a couple students in that shooting. So yeah, these resources are, I think probably the most important possible aspect of this entire thing is to be able to provide districts with the support that we can give to kids in regards to their mental health, and also overall school safety and security. It's a big deal.
And Westland did not mention using these funds for a social worker. We currently employ 2.5 social workers already through our education fund, and you're talking about the mental health of our staff as well, even an employee assistance program we already pay for our staff. So we're not talking about using these funds for mental health, but it's because those are already in our education fund, and Westland's going to choose to use these funds for facility and safety and security. But I don't want to, because I'm not saying we're using the funds for a social worker. We're not concerned about the mental health. It's that we're using different funds, or our education funds, for the social workers and for our employees.
Go ahead. Sorry. At Carlisle, we have discussed it at length because we currently have one school counselor at our high school. And we also use Coping for Kids, and though they are fantastic, they only come to the high school 1 day a week. And she is busy from the time she gets there to the time she leaves. They do a fantastic job, but we just have a greater need for our students. So this is something that would definitely benefit the district in that aspect as well at Carlisle.
And we've alluded to the need to provide services, mental health services for our students and our staff. But I also think it's important to mention using some of these funds to provide our families with support as well, on how to better meet the needs of children at home, and how they can better support them through the challenges that they face in today's world.
Will a property tax levy be the next proposal or alternative should this not pass?
I guess if you are still tuned in to us,
This is the best thing on TV right now. There's nothing else better to watch right now than this.
the major question, if you're on the fence, that you need to ask yourself is, do I want to bear the load or share the load? I'm going to go through a quick example of how our school district operates, and it's pretty similar to all the other smaller elementary districts in Clinton County. Whenever we have a major facility improvement that we need to make, our school board approves a maintenance grant. Those have been available to us the last couple of years. Those are usually a $50,000 matching grant. We have gotten some things done with those. We've kind of kicked to the side other facility projects, like a roofing project that we have for $265,000. The state will kick in 50, and then we have to match the rest. We typically, our school district gets $100,000 in property taxes for O&M each year, and we expend that in operational costs throughout the year. So we depend on what we have in reserves, which isn't enough to do a roofing project. So this facility tax would certainly help with major projects that we have in our school district. And I stated before, we get about 133,000. It's estimated that we get about 133,000 in taxes that we could bank for 2 years to cover that project. That's how we would share the load among Clinton County. Otherwise, currently St. Rose doesn't have any bonds that we are paying down. But as these projects become more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, necessary or that type of thing, we would have to sell bonds, which would cause us to bear the load just in our township or our school district. So it's not a threat by any means, but it takes some creative thinking to make that happen without feeling that impact locally, and unless we have the ability to share that load. So.
And we've got a little different situation in District 12 because we are obviously much bigger than St. Rose, and we have 2 buildings. We have one in Beckemeyer, Illinois, and then one in Breeze, Illinois. And so for us, every time we're looking at roofing or HVAC, we're considering 2 buildings that are both aging. So when I talk about earlier, as I mentioned, if this 1% would pass, for us, it's something that we have to take a close look at as far as how do we predict the future with our growth and enrollment due to that extra housing complex that is being built out on Holy Cross with 58 units, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom. And so when I consider that, the fact that neither of our elementaries, and not Beckemeyer nor Breeze Elementary, have additional classroom space available, we have some really tough decisions to make in the future in terms of where to put students. Okay, and I've been very clear when speaking with different groups. The last thing I want to do is string our grounds at either building with a bunch of portable buildings. There's a variety of reasons why most people, I would say, are not in support of a bunch of portable trailers. Are they temporary fixes? Yes. By the way, they still cost a lot of money. You have to lease them, and by the time you get to a certain point on lease, you're better off to buy them. So there's a point in time when that's not cost effective either. But the reality of it is, for us in Breeze District 12, when I look at the 1%, where we could literally take our just over $500,000 a year that we bring in from that, and again, that's based on last year's revenue calculations. We could take that and we could actually work with some alternate revenue bonds that would never, ever hit the property taxpayer levy at all. It would never hit the levy. It would never affect the local property taxpayer's bill. I would be able to use the 1% to pay off those alternate revenue bonds and could do all of our facilities projects, both small and large, when I talk about classroom additions, again, without ever going back to the taxpayers. Certainly, that would always be my preference to, as Dr. Bear said, share the load with any person coming through the county to help us pay for new facilities, extra classroom space to help our kids, versus have to go back to the property taxpayers and look at a building bond referendum, which would guarantee to raise the property taxpayer's bill. So in Breeze District 12, that's a situation that we're faced with as we go into April 4th.
Okay, I think that was all of our questions that we had submitted previously. We just had a couple come in live. So I'll start with this one. It was a comment, and I think we've touched on this a little bit. How is this going to benefit ASA and Modern Day?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I mean, from the standpoint of school safety, I've talked to the Breeze City Council last week. I've talked with a couple of organizations as well, and I would be absolutely thrilled if this 1% sales tax would pass. I'd be absolutely thrilled immediately after the election to be able to post and to hire a qualified full-time school resource officer that we would share with ASA and Modern Day. And I would work with Chief Burnson. He's a great friend. He's an awesome guy, and I'd work with him closely to be able to set up a schedule where that person could support our buildings there within the city limits of Breeze. As I've also told folks, again, being very transparent, right now with our upcoming facilities needs and other things we're going to have to do with personnel to support the growth in students, we wouldn't be able to fund this SRO right away without the pass of the 1% tax. And so again, for us, that's something that we would be able to do if that passed. So I would do my best to be able to support from a school safety standpoint, which again we all realize now is ever so important.
I'll add on to that. For the folks who send their children to ASA or Modern Day, I would imagine 99% of them live within Clinton County, And so whether it's Bartelzo or St. Rose or wherever they may be, they would see an impact on their property taxes because of the fact that they live in a public school district. So whether or not you send your kids to a public school, private school, you will, or if you have no kids at all, and you still own property in the county, you will see, in the Bartelzo area, I'll let everybody speak themselves, you will see a reduction in your property tax rate should this pass.
Okay, thank you. Another one, we just had one more come in, so two more. What is the expected percent of increase in the budget, and will this tax increase the school's overall budget?
I think it'd be hard to say a percentage increase without knowing how much money we're gonna be bringing in every year. It's gonna fluctuate from year to year. But whatever money does come in, I mean, you're limited to what you can use it for, whether it's buildings, facilities, mental health, school safety. So you can't take this money and give it, to the superintendent's salary. We check with the lawyers, that's not legal. So that's out. But yeah, I can't give you a dollar amount or percentage, but yeah, every dollar that comes in will be used for one of those areas that we talked about earlier.
I mean, Westland's, our current revenue is about $11 million. So if this projected, if you go off the 2021 receipts, is an additional $1 million. So that's how much our revenues will increase, and that's how much our expenditures would that would go out as well. Now, it may go out on bond payments, or it may go out on some of the projects that we mentioned earlier, or the board may choose to save it for further down the road. So it really depends, but the money comes in would go into each district's revenue, each district, revenue, so.
And these, our budgets and these funds are talked about every month at board meetings. Our board meetings aren't highly attended, but those are covered in open session, and it's posted on our website. So if you're interested in our budget or any other information, you can attend a board meeting or jump on our website to find that information.
And again, as mentioned earlier, it's Fund 60. So when you would open a school district's budget, starting next year, if it would pass, is that you would see revenues and expenditures coming in and going out of Fund 60.
Since you brought that up, I will point out, if this would pass, folks are not gonna see an immediate reduction in property taxes. Understand this is a couple of years down the road. It'll be really the summer of 25 when those bills go out that you'll see the reduction. This summer's property taxes, you're not gonna see a reduction. You'll see possibly a little bit in 24, but it will be 2025 before people will be able to see the real, decrease in their property tax rate for the schools.
It would go in effect. Starting July 1 is my understanding, is when it would start. You would see it at the cash register.
Yes.
Couple more questions just came in. So what steps have been taken prior to proposing this tax hike?
Steps for what?
Well, we issued $1 million in bonds a couple of years ago to fix up our building, so that we were ahead of that. But now, instead of using property tax money to repay that bond payment, we could use sales tax money, and we would use sales tax money primarily should this pass.
And I would say in Carlisle School District, we recently sold bonds for our new addition to add a cafeteria onto the high school. But also, like Eric mentioned at St. Rose, most of our renovations besides that have been our school maintenance grants. So that $50,000 match grants, along with, we have had our ESSER grants the last couple of years. So I know in our district, we were able to update 2 of our large chiller systems. So one that cools the entire elementary, and then the other one is at the junior high, and it covers half of our junior high campus. Both of those units were 100% paid by ESSER funds. So I think we've tried to be as fiscally responsible as we could, using those grants and those funds available to us to get some of the work and update that's needed for our districts.
Okay, I've got 2 more. One, are there provisions for senior citizens or people on fixed budgets who are barely getting by now?
No, this tax will apply to everyone. Everything that has the retail sales tax applied to it. So there would be no.
The only provision I think that would probably be beneficial for senior citizens is, any of their pharmaceutical drugs are not taxed. Groceries are not taxed. So the folks that are, struggling to get by day, how much is it gonna hit them going out to eat? I'm not sure. But on their typical grocery bill, it won't be impacted, and on any of their medical pharmaceuticals, it won't be impacted.
Thank you. Okay, so the last one that I think I have is, are other school boards willing to pass and record with the county clerk a resolution to reduce their respective property tax levy?
Well, as Dustin said at Central, they've already passed that resolution, and Alberts has as well, but we have not brought it to the county, but we will be doing that. So, yeah, that would be, again, we hope that this approximate 10 cents tax rate decrease will actually be larger once we see what this money can do for us.
And ours, what we filed was a minimum number.
Yeah, that's
So
what we did.
our board has every right, if more revenue comes in, for us to be able to continue to give an additional percentage of that back to the property taxpayers.
And again, that's a decision that each Board of Education can make. If this would pass, that once it passes and that board wants to make that resolution, that's every Board of Education's right to decide.
They're both aging. So when I talked about earlier,
Is there anything else?
I think that is all the questions that we have. Thank you all so much. Everybody who is watching, thank you. If you have further questions, feel free to comment on our page or ask your questions there.
Is there anything you guys would like to say before?
If you have any specific questions for any of us, our doors are open, phone lines are open. Please give us a call if you have any questions. If we don't know the answer, we will certainly try to find that out for you.
And I think the most important part is, I think everyone here, when we decided on this initiative, we wanted to be able to make the entire county and our communities be able to make this decision. That's why it's on the ballot. It's not something that we are going to tell anyone, hey, this needs to happen or else. We're just glad that everybody's becoming more informed about our taxes and our situations. And like Dr. Fouch said, I think it has brought light to our local businesses, and hopefully it increases some of that those local business visits, and we help our local businesses out.
And we want to thank you for taking this time to get educated on this topic. As long as, we just want people to make educated decisions.
Everybody getting lots of comments saying it's very informative. Thank you very much for the information. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Have a good night, everyone.